How do I say this? Hello everyone, it's Holly. Thank you for joining me for today's video, which is a very exciting one. I think we've all been waiting for it for quite a while. We're going to be talking about 10 words in Spanish that don't exist in English. Now, one of the most interesting things about speaking a few different languages, in my case only 2, but I would imagine that it gets progressively more interesting as you learn more and more languages, is the fact that each language slices up reality in its own way. So we basically take concepts, ideas, objects, descriptions, actions, and we assign words to them. And when we start comparing from one language to the next, these words sometimes align perfectly, but other times don't align at all. And that's exactly why sometimes when you're speaking one language, you feel like there's just a word that perfectly describes a situation, a feeling, a thought, whatever the case may be. And then when you try to say it in the other language, you're like, man, there's no word for that. A lot of times in order to translate these words, we're going to have to use 2 or more words and sometimes a full explanation, as you guys will see. So if you guys are ready to get this video started, vamos a arrancar. First word in Spanish that doesn't exist in English, estrenar. Now this can be used to describe when you're wearing something for the first time or using it for the first time or breaking it in, as in a physical object like shoes or a dress. Estoy estrenando vestido. You can also say, estoy estrenando corte de cabello. I'm debuting, if you will, a new haircut, or showing it off for the first time. You can also use it for things that aren't objects, like boyfriends. Estoy estrenando novio. I don't really feel like using for the first time, wearing for the first time, or breaking in would work here. Showing off for the first time? Kind of, but estrenar doesn't only mean showing it off. You'll also hear this word in the world of cinema. La película se estrena el 18 de marzo. So the movie will premiere on the 18th of March. I think you guys are getting an idea of what the word estrenar means. It's very much about the first time, aka about it having never been done before. But in English, we don't have a succinct way to say everything that this word really entails. Second word in Spanish that doesn't exist in English, chimuelo. This means somebody without teeth, a toothless person, or more often than not, someone with a few teeth missing. So we might say one-toothed or snaggle-toothed, but neither of those really adequately describe what chimuelo means. It's often used for 7-year-old kids that just lost their 2 front teeth, anda chimuelo, but you can also call someone el chimuelo, which means the toothless person. And Spanish has that quality where you can stick an article in front of an adjective and turn it into a noun. It's very convenient. Other examples, mi tío está panzón. That means my uncle has a big belly. But you can just say el panzón, and that means the big-bellied guy. There are also words like tuerto, having one eye, manco, having one arm, cojo, having one leg or one working leg. And I put all these in the same category because Spanish has a wealth of these words and English simply does not. You have to say a few words to explain what these words mean. The third word in Spanish that does not exist in English is estadounidense. What a great word, and my goodness, if anyone needs it, I would say that the English language does. It means United Statesian, someone who is from the United States. It is what most Spanish speakers prefer to call us rather than Americans. As you know, America being the continent and all, it can cause some problems, and a lot of people don't understand that when we call ourselves Americans, it's really because we don't know what else to call ourselves. I do have a full video on this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. You guys have to check it out. I'm going to link it somewhere. But yes, that is a huge black hole in the English language. How in the world can there not be a word for estadounidense? I don't know. I could say something like, mi esposo es mexicano y yo soy estadounidense. My husband is Mexican and I am United Statesian. Not to be confused with americano. So while they can just say one word, estadounidense, we have to say 5. Someone from the United States. Inconvenient. The fourth word in Spanish that does not exist in English is ajeno. Now this means that it is something that is not yours, it belongs to someone else. Some other translations that you may find would be external, unconnected, or unaffiliated, but these do not do the word ajeno justice. I would say that the best way to convey the meaning would be someone else's, not yours. The great Mexican historical figure Benito Juárez famously said, el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz. Our translation for that is, respect of other people's rights is peace. So yes, ajeno in this case is being translated as other people. So as you can see, it's not yours, it's someone else's. And that's about as close as we're going to get as far as translations for the word ajeno. Fifth word in Spanish that doesn't exist in English, antier. How succinct is the word antier? It literally means the day before yesterday. So it takes us 21 characters just to convey the concept of not yesterday, but the day before. In Spanish, all we have to say is antier. It's so convenient. ¿Desde cuándo estás aquí? Llegué antier. How long have you been here? Oh, I got here the day before yesterday. Wow, talk about a mouthful, huh? The etymology of this word comes from anteayer. So ante means before, and then ayer is yesterday. So you can see how that came together and formed that word. And some people still do say anteayer, but antier is perfectly acceptable. The sixth Spanish word that doesn't exist in English is friolento. This means someone who is prone to getting cold. Someone who is cold-blooded, perhaps, we might say it that way. The most colloquial translation would probably be someone who gets cold easily. Que ni se te ocurra ir a esquiar, eres bien friolento. Don't even think about going skiing. You get cold so easily. You're so cold-blooded. Friolento. The seventh Spanish word that does not exist in English is convivir. This has several connotations. The first one being to coexist with someone, even though that's actually probably the worst translation I've ever heard, but you'll find it a lot. The word can be used to talk about people that are living together. Estamos conviviendo. He lives with me, I live with him, we live together. Convivimos. But I'd say that a more common use of the word is more like hanging out and having fun and spending time together. I always say, me gusta convivir con mis suscriptores. And it basically means I like to hang out and have quality time with my subscribers. Like interact. That's a good word for it, interact. Although the direct translation for that in Spanish is just interactuar. There's something special about convivir. It has some nuances that English doesn't quite communicate. And that's why it made the list. The eighth Spanish word that doesn't exist in English is provecho. The first context that comes to mind when I hear this word is someone very polite getting up at a restaurant and walking out, seeing a family that's still eating and saying provecho or buen provecho. This would be the English version of, I guess, enjoy your meal, or the French version of bon appetit. Please correct me if I pronounce that wrong. The connotation of the word provecho there means may it do you well, may you take advantage of it, I guess? You can say sacarle provecho a una situación. That's to take advantage of a situation. But the word advantage would more adequately be translated as ventaja. So what is provecho? Well, some may translate it as benefit, others as profit, and the list goes on. But none of the words adequately encompass everything that the word provecho entails. This noun can easily be turned into a verb as well, and that verb is aprovechar. And it can have kind of the same connotations, both negative and positive, of taking advantage of something. So life's short, take advantage of your time. That's not a negative connotation at all, right? But this person took advantage of me is certainly negative. Same with aprovechar. Se aprovechó de mí, not good. Aprovecha tu vida, take advantage of your life, make the most out of it, a very good thing for all of us to keep in mind. The ninth Spanish word that doesn't exist in English is empalagar. This is the sensation of being just overwhelmed with sweetness, and that can be metaphoric sweetness or actual literal sweetness. So you can eat an entire bag of M&Ms and at the end say something like, ya me empalagué. So that's the verb, empalagar. Or you could try something like Nutella and say, no me gusta, es demasiado empalagoso. So that's the adjective. It's too nauseating, some would say. I saw the word cloy as one of the translations, and I honestly have never heard that word before in my life, so let me know in the comments if you have. Now, when I said figurative sweetness earlier, that's because people can use the word que empalagosos when there's a couple that's being too sweet, they're all over each other, kissing each other, PDA up the wall, etc. It's too sweet, I'm getting fed up, I'm feeling sick. But to be honest, none of those really convey what the word empalagar actually means. The 10th Spanish word that doesn't exist in English is atinar. And this can have multiple meanings, you think. But the first thing that comes to mind is someone throwing a dart or shooting an arrow and hitting the bullseye. Le atinaste! You nailed it! Nailed it is getting at what we're trying to say, but not necessarily in all contexts. If someone's taking their best shot, you might say atínale, go for it, but like land it, you know, like aim for it and stick it. How do I say this? You might also hear translations like hit upon or come up with when someone's trying to think of the right answer. No atinaba con la respuesta correcta. He didn't hit upon the right answer or he couldn't come up with the right answer. It's like you're searching, you're looking, and boom, le atinaste. Are these explanations helping at all? So with the verb being atinar, the adjective is atinado. And you might hear someone say, "Qué atinado fuiste con ese comentario." Like you were right on with that comment. But it's an adjective, so it would be more like, how pertinent your comment was. So apt for the situation. Atinado. Like, you nailed it. You know what I'm saying? Alright guys, that's about it for today's video. My point with these videos is not to say that one language is better than the other or that one has more vocabulary than the other. I am sure that I can always improve mine in both languages, but the point here is each language expresses itself differently and it's beautiful and it's fun and it's interesting. And when you finally understand the meaning of a word that doesn't really have a parallel word in your mother tongue, it's pretty exciting. So I hope you guys had at least one light bulb moment in this video. Let me know if you can think of any other words in Spanish that you feel like don't have a direct translation into English, or vice versa. And if you haven't checked out my video on 10 English words that don't exist in Spanish, definitely do so. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure, as usual, and I will see you very soon. Bye!